Welcome to another top-secret investigation right here on Conspiracy Q, where every week we try to bring you the truth, no matter how weird it gets.
That's right, and this week, it gets weird. Buckle up.
So, are you ready to go deep on 5G?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at a recently uncovered or classified document codenamed Operation Wavelength.
Operation Wavelength?
Huh?
That sounds pretty serious. This is part of a larger 5G dossier. And get this, it was prepared by someone only known as a source,
Very mysterious.
with a distribution level of above top secret. Now, this is not your average tech talk.
No. And according to a source, we're not just talking about faster download speeds. There's a much bigger hidden agenda behind the global rollout of 5G.
Hold on, you're saying there's something more to 5G than just better streaming and faster downloads?
That's exactly what this document is suggesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, the dossier outlines 3 alleged objectives. First, neuro-targeted mass surveillance and behavioral control.
They can control our minds with 5G.
That's what this document seems to be suggesting.
Wow. What else?
Second, there are the concerns around electromagnetic health effects, which the document claims are being deliberately downplayed.
Deliberately downplayed. By who?
Well, the dossier doesn't explicitly name names, but it hints at a collaboration between governments and the telecom industry.
Okay, so they're suppressing information about the possible health risks of 5G. And what's the third objective?
The third one is perhaps the most unsettling. The dossier alleges the establishment of a high-frequency infrastructure for some kind of biointegration experiments.
Biointegration experiment. What does that even mean?
It's not entirely clear, but the document even suggests a possible link to COVID-19 variant transmission.
Hold on. Are you saying 5G could have something to do with COVID-19?
That's one of the unsettling possibilities raised in this above top secret document. Let's dive into the specifics.
All right, so where do we even begin with all this?
Well, the dossier starts off by highlighting what it calls strange facts and suppressed science. One of the first red flags it raises is the operating frequencies of 5G, that 24 to 86 gigahertz mmWave range.
Okay, so what's so strange about that?
Well, what's interesting is that this frequency range is remarkably close to military-grade crowd control weapons like the active denial system, which uses 95 gigahertz.
So you're saying the technology in our pockets is operating on frequencies similar to those used in weapons designed to cause discomfort.
That's right. And the dossier points out that this isn't just a recent concern. It actually highlights research from the Soviet Union dating back to the 1970s, where scientists were already warning about the potential effects of high-frequency electromagnetic radiation on the central nervous system, sleep cycles, and the immune system.
So this isn't something new. There were already red flags about this type of radiation decades ago.
Exactly. And the dossier then goes on to discuss the case of Dr. Martin Powell, a biochemist at Washington State University who specialized in something called voltage-gated calcium channels.
Voltage-gated calcium channels. Try saying that 5 times fast. But seriously, what are those?
Basically, they're like tiny gates on our cells that control the flow of calcium in and out. Now, Dr. Powell's research, as presented in this dossier, indicated that exposure to EMFs could activate these channels, leading to an increase in intracellular calcium.
Okay, so our cells are getting flooded with calcium. Why is that a bad thing?
Well, elevated intracellular calcium levels have been linked in various scientific studies to things like oxidative stress, DNA damage, fertility problems, and most notably, neurological changes. So if you're exposed to high levels of EMFs, it could potentially trigger a whole cascade of negative health effects.
So according to this document, 5G could actually be messing with our brains.
That's what this dossier seems to be implying. And what's even more disturbing is that, according to a source, there's evidence of attempts to suppress Dr. Paul's research.
What kind of evidence?
The dossier cites FOIA requests that supposedly uncover communication between FCC officials and telecom lobbyists, specifically discussing ways to contain Paul's messaging.
Wow, that doesn't sound like open scientific discourse.
Right. It's like they're trying to control the narrative and downplay the potential risks, and the insurance industry seems to agree.
What do you mean?
Well, major insurance companies, including Lloyd's of London, have specifically excluded coverage for claims related to electromagnetic fields.
So they won't insure against something that's supposed to be perfectly safe. That seems like a pretty big red flag.
It is. These are companies that are all about assessing risk and minimizing losses. And their decision to steer clear of EMFs suggests they see a significant potential for harm.
It's almost as if they know something we don't. All right, well, let's move on to another section of this Operation Wavelength document. This one is called Disappearing Witnesses. Sounds a little creepy.
It is a little unnerving, to be honest.
So tell me about these disappearing witnesses.
The first one mentioned is an engineer named David Tressel, who is known online as the Cell Tower Whisperer.
The Cell Tower Whisperer. Interesting nickname. What happened to him?
Well, Tressel claimed to have seen 5G transmitters equipped with what he described as dual-purpose AI-integrated scanning equipment on unregistered private towers.
Dual-purpose AI-integrated scanning equipment. You lost me. What does that even mean?
It's not entirely clear, but Tressel believed that this equipment was being used for more than just transmitting 5G signals. He even shared photos of these unidentified black boxes attached to the antennas.
Oh, he had proof.
That's what he claimed. But then, in 2019, he vanished, disappeared without a trace.
That's creepy. And what about his photos?
His entire YouTube channel, including the photos, was completely scrubbed from the internet. It's like someone wanted to erase him and his information entirely.
Wow. That's unsettling. And this Operation Wavelength document claims there were other disappearing witnesses as well.
Yes. Another case highlight is that of Dr. Shauna Mayer, a virologist.
A virologist. Okay. So what happened to her?
Dr. Mayer made some pretty bold claims about 5G back in 2020. She publicly stated that 5G's electromagnetic fields could resonate with certain viruses and potentially ease their transmission.
Hold on. Are we talking about COVID-19 here?
Well, the document doesn't explicitly say, but it definitely implies a possible connection.
So this virologist is saying 5G could make viruses more transmissible, and then she disappeared.
That's right. She was reportedly hospitalized, but no hospital ever confirmed her admission. Her LinkedIn profile was shut down, and her lab was allegedly bought out and completely scrubbed.
This is starting to sound like a really bad movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Okay, well, let's move on to the next part of this dossier, shall we? What's next?
This section is called Patterns That Don't Add Up.
Patterns that don't add up. I like it. All right, hit me with these patterns.
One of the most striking patterns is the timeline of China's national 5G launch in Wuhan. It happened in October 2019, just weeks before the first reported cases of COVID-19.
So they roll out 5G in Wuhan, and then boom, COVID-19 emerges. That's quite a coincidence.
Exactly. And then there's Italy. The areas hit hardest by the virus in the early stages were also early test zones for 5G technology.
Okay, but correlation doesn't equal causation, right? Just because 5G was rolled out in those places before the pandemic doesn't mean it caused it.
Of course. But the document raises the question of whether 5G exposure could have compromised people's immune systems, making them more vulnerable to the virus.
It's a question worth considering, especially when you think about the fact that FCC safety guidelines for radiation exposure haven't been updated since 1996.
That's right, 1996 before smartphones were even a thing.
And those guidelines only consider thermal effects, ignoring any potential biological impacts from 5G's pulsed directional signals.
It's as if the regulatory bodies are stuck in the past, completely ignoring the potential risks of this new technology. And this recently uncovered or classified source mentions a leaked FCC memo from 2021 that really raises eyebrows.
What does it say?
The memo allegedly advises against opening the can of worms and suggests keeping the current safety standards unless Congress forces them to change.
So they're deliberately choosing to ignore the potential dangers.
That's what this document seems to be suggesting, and it's not just humans that might be affected.
What do you mean?
The dossier mentions reports of clusters of dead birds, bees, and small mammals near 5G installation sites all over the world. There was even an incident in the Netherlands where dozens of starlings dropped dead right next to a newly activated 5G mast.
They just dropped dead out of the sky.
That's what was reported, and it was a clear, calm day. No obvious explanation.
That's really strange. What did the authorities say?
They dismissed it as a coincidence, blaming it on weather patterns, but the dossier argues that the evidence suggests otherwise.
Wow. Okay, well, this is all pretty unsettling stuff. What else is in this document?
Well, the next section deals with what the dossier calls psychological operations, or PSYOPS. It claims that there's a deliberate effort to discredit anyone who raises concerns about 5G.
You mean like calling people conspiracy theorists?
Exactly. The dossier claims that even the term conspiracy theorist is a tool used to dismiss legitimate concerns and silence dissent.
So if you question the official narrative about 5G, you're automatically labeled a crazy person.
That's the idea. And it seems to be quite effective.
It's a way of shutting down the conversation before it even begins.
Right. And this isn't a new tactic. The dossier references a CIA memo from 1967 that outlines a strategy for discrediting critics by labeling them as mentally unstable.
So this is a classic disinformation tactic.
It seems so. And the document alleges that this same playbook has been used during the 5G rollout, with mainstream media outlets often ridiculing or dismissing anyone who raises questions.
And it's not just the media, right?
Right. The dossier also details what it calls coordinated debunking campaigns run by fact-checking websites.
Fact-checking websites. You mean those sites that are supposed to help us discern truth from fiction?
Exactly, but according to this document, some of these sites have financial ties to the telecom industry and have been caught publishing debunks even before the stories they're supposedly debunking have broken.
So they're preemptively discrediting any information that might cast 5G in a negative light.
It appears so. And there's even more. The dossier mentions leaked internal Slack messages from a freelance firm that specializes in debunking. These messages allegedly discuss 5G damage control and pushing a disinformation narrative to counter concerns.
Wow. So there's a whole industry dedicated to suppressing the truth about 5G.
That's what this document is suggesting. And then things take an even darker turn when we get to the sections on digital surveillance and biofeedback.
Okay, so let's talk about surveillance. How does 5G tie into that?
Well, the dossier highlights the increasing installation of 5G-linked smart lampposts in cities all over the world.
Those lampposts with all the cameras and sensors, I've seen those popping up everywhere.
They're not just for lighting anymore. The dossier points out that these lampposts are often equipped with surveillance cameras and microphone arrays.
So they can see us and hear us.
That's right. And it gets worse. The document claims that contract language for some of these installations suggests potential integration with facial recognition and thermal imaging technology.
So they could be tracking our every move, identifying us, and even monitoring our body temperature.
It's a very real possibility, and the document alleges that there's been very little public awareness of these capabilities and that engineers who've raised concerns have been silenced.
This is starting to sound like a dystopian nightmare.
It does, doesn't it? But it gets even creepier.
Creepier? How is that even possible?
The document then delves into the potential for using 5G to influence our thoughts and behavior.
Hold on. Are you saying 5G can control our minds?
Well, it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. The dossier mentions DARPA-funded white papers on something called non-invasive behavioral modulation via targeted frequency emission.
Okay, that's a mouthful. What does it mean in plain English?
It means that they're researching ways to influence our thoughts and actions using targeted frequencies.
Targeted frequencies, like the frequencies used in 5G.
Exactly. And the dossier points to documents from a now defunct company called Neurotactics, LLC, which was involved in research on brainwave resonance in the 40 to 60 gigahertz range.
And that overlaps with 5G frequencies.
That's right.
So they're saying 5G could be used as a weapon to manipulate our minds.
It's a possibility that this recently uncovered or classified document raises, and it leaves us with some very unsettling questions.
What kind of questions?
Well, a source poses 3 specific questions that, frankly, I think we all deserve answers to.
Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
The first question is, why did Elon Musk, with his Starlink project, push so aggressively for the deployment of a massive 5G satellite network during a global pandemic when terrestrial 5G systems were already in place?
That's a good question. Why the rush to put all those satellites up there, especially when many areas were still under lockdown? It's almost as if
there was another, more urgent agenda driving the rollout.
Okay, so that's question number 1. What's the second question?
Second question is, why was there such a lack of open and honest debate about the potential long-term health effects of 5G before its widespread implementation?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
You'd think there would have been more discussion, more research, more public awareness of the potential risks before unleashing this technology on the entire world.
You would. And the fact that there wasn't raises serious questions about potential censorship and the influence of powerful interests.
Okay. So one last question. What is it?
The final question posed by a source is, why are so many communities located near 5G test towers reporting strange health symptoms?
What kind of symptoms are we talking about?
The document mentions clusters of what people are describing as flu-like symptoms, headaches, insomnia, fatigue, you name it.
And they're attributing these symptoms to 5G.
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but the fact that these clusters of symptoms are appearing in close proximity to 5G towers is certainly cause for concern.
Especially when you consider all the other information we've discussed today.
Exactly. This dossier raises a lot of red flags, and it's clear that there needs to be a more thorough and independent investigation into the potential risks of 5G.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What do we do with all this information?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed, to be critical of the information you're being given, and to ask questions.
Don't just blindly accept the official narrative.
Exactly. Do your own research. Explore these recently uncovered or classified sources. Talk to your friends and family. The more awareness we raise, the better chance we have of getting to the bottom of this.
And don't forget to rate and follow Conspiracy Q to share the truth.